First half of the NFL season is in the books, which means there's only one thing to do. Look ahead to week number 10, and you can't get started early enough. So with a couple of look-ahead lines for this week, I'm George, Eric is alongside, brought to you by mybookie.ag as usual. All right, we're going to go to the NFC South. A couple of teams that are very good, at least offensively, on the road. We're going to start with the New Orleans Saints coming here to Cincinnati to play the Bengals. Bengals are beat up. The Saints are currently 4.5 favorites. And how do you feel about that?
Yeah, I think to me, what puts me over the top here is the fact that the best Bengals player is out, right? A.J. Green, it looks like he got an encouraging second opinion on his foot, but it doesn't look like he's going to play for a couple more weeks here. The Bengals offense has been pretty good this season. Andy Dalton's been top 10 in a lot of different categories in terms of quarterbacks, but if you take away his best receiver, along with Tyler Eifert, who's been out for a while, I think that offense gets really thin really quickly. And as we saw against the Rams on Sunday in New Orleans, if your offense makes a mistake at all, turns the ball over at all, punts at all, New Orleans is going to jump on you. So I think New Orleans scores enough points here to sort of pick the score.
Yeah, the only tough thing here is that New Orleans just had this huge game. You know, they do have some bigger games coming down the stretch than this one, whereas the Bengals, it's sort of do or die season at this point, right? They've kind of fallen off after their strong start. So that worries me a little bit. The encouraging piece is, of course, that I think if you take the top, 5 players in this game, they are all playing for New Orleans. Drew Brees obviously is a huge step over Andy Dalton, and then he's got Michael Thomas, whereas A.J. Green will not be playing for Andy Dalton. So I think this one probably moves towards the Saints. So if you're going to bet this game, I would jump on it right now. It's tough to swallow the road favorite here, but look, if you're going to do it, I guess you do it with Drew Brees. All right, before we move on to our second game, reminder that whether you're watching football or, curling, whatever it is that you're into, mybookie.ag has got your back. They will make even the most boring game exciting because they can get you some action just like that. Head to mybookie.ag. They've got the best customer service to make it easy to cash out. And if you use promo code PFF, you can get a $1 match on your first deposit. It's pretty simple. PFF plus mybookie.ag. You play, you win, you get paid. All right, my favorite, the Atlanta Falcons. They're also in Ohio. This is basically a copycat of the first game, except with teams that are slightly worse. They're playing the Browns, certainly a step down from the Bengals. They are also favored, the Falcons are, by 4. But again, here I think it's a situation where, look, one team's just way better.
Yeah, I think, Atlanta off to a slow start, like, the Pittsburgh Steelers, like the Vikings. But, we said in our power rankings, episode here that those teams have sort of come back to what we expected from them. Atlanta, one of our picks last week, was extremely impressive in Washington, running the football, but mostly, Julio Jones, Calvin Ridley, and Mohamed Sanu catching passes from Matt Ryan, who is clearly the better quarterback. In this one, the Browns come off a game where they were at home. They were, almost double-digit underdogs to Kansas City. Couldn't cover that. And I think coming off of a week where they're probably as up as they're ever going to be with Greg Williams as a first-week coach, I think there's a little bit of a letdown here as well for the Browns.
Yes, I would fade everything going on in Cleveland at this point. I think, look, this season is in a bad spot for them. Denzel Ward banged up. If you can't cover, you are not going to compete with the Atlanta Falcons. I think we saw a fairly valiant effort from the Redskins last week at home in a game that they obviously needed to win to stay in contention here. And the Falcons are in have-to-win-every-game mode. So I think they're just kind of throwing caution to the wind. They're going to play, their defense is going to play it in a way that says, look, we're just going to do everything we can to sort of, we're not great. But we're going to do everything we can to stop the pass from beating us, let you run a little bit, do some things that make a lot of sense. Meanwhile, the offense is just unstoppable.
That's exactly what the Kansas City Chiefs did against Cleveland last week. And, much like the Chiefs, the Falcons are the type of team that if they keep, Cleveland into the 20s, they're going to be able to outscore them. One key thing here, Denzel Ward, E.J. Gaines, the 2 starting cornerbacks on the outside for Cleveland are both questionable. I think if they don't play or they are limited, this one might become a bloodbath pretty quickly.
Oof. So, in Ohio, or the state that we're in, that's tough to think about. Okay, those are our 2 right now. If you had to look ahead, though, and pick one game where, hey, maybe the line actually moves a little bit in a direction that would make you more enticed to take it, where would you go?
Yeah, so we have Jacksonville at Indy, and that line is at 3 right now. I think if you ever got a 3.5, I have a hard time seeing this particular game in this division with these two teams at anything other than a field goal game. And so if you get more than a field goal with Jacksonville here, I think you take it. What about you?
As much as this pains me, I look to Monday night and the San Francisco 49ers. And Nick Mullins, I want to see Nick Mullins do well. I also want to see the Niners get closer to the #1 pick. But I do think that them being favored maybe by more than 3 points would be a bit much for me. And as much as, look, taking Eli Manning isn't encouraging, the Niners can't exactly rush the passer that well. So I think I'd be enticed by the Giants in that situation.
Yeah, I think the Giants' road team coming off a bye, that seems to be a nice indicator here. Also, the Niners, a decent number of impact injuries on defense with Jaquiski Tartt and Reuben Foster. So I don't know. I think Mullins is sort of a classic one-week wonder here. So if you're getting any points, again, I think that it's difficult to go a field goal on either side with either of these teams. So I think if it does move in San Francisco's direction, go ahead and grab a team we've been down on all year, which is the New York Giants.
And enjoy, man. That would be pretty fantastic. As usual, if you want all of our content, head to ProFootballFocus.com. You can check out the PFF forecast, which is a Thursday and Monday morning situation. We'll get you some picks on Thursday. And of course, subscribe.